Take us back to 1913. 100 years ago, what was our position in the British Empire, and how far had that move towards Home Rule actually got?
By 1913, the question of Home Rule essentially seemed to have been close to resolution. That is to say, some form of Irish self-government seemed imminent, inevitable and imminent. Not totally separate from the British Empire. Ireland still would have been seen as securely within the larger framework of the Empire and Commonwealth, and its future would have been seen in those terms. That's what Home Rule actually meant, and that's what the majority of Home Rulers themselves probably aspired to. What I think is important is that as 1913 rolls on, the kernel difficulty comes sharper and sharper into view, namely, how much of Ireland would enjoy self-government, and if there were to be an excluded zone from that, how long would that exclusion last? In other words, the issue of partition, the issue of Ulster, a special settlement for Ulster, how much of Ulster and for how long? And that issue looms large. It's there already from 1912, but during 1913 it comes very sharply into view with the increasing militancy of the Ulster Unionists themselves, and with the increasing evidence that unsettles Irish nationalists that the British government itself, Asquith's Liberal government, is actually far shifting on the issue, that they are actually looking at compromises and different ways of handling Ulster intransigence rather than facing it down. So there's a mood shift certainly from early 1913 to the end of 13, when Owen MacNeill has the suggestion for volunteers. There isn't as much confidence in Home Rule, particularly the Home Rule as envisaged, an All-Ireland Assembly with certain powers. That has been severely qualified by Ulster intransigence and the evidence that the government perhaps is going to concede something. How much and for how long is still to play for.
From the British point of view, though, Home Rule itself, in terms of self-government or a certain level of self-government for Ireland or part of Ireland, that's not really a problem. The problem is Ulster. The
British government of the day, the Liberal government of Asquith, certainly was committed to giving a form of self-government, limited to Ireland. It's not the case that the British political establishment as a whole was reconciled to that happening. The Conservatives certainly saw political mileage in opposing it. They had opposed it in any case for ideological reasons. But the question of how it should be opposed, and more particularly at what point that opposition would congeal into a separate deal for Ulster, that was yet to be determined. But it was prefigured pretty strongly already in 1913.